Ahum and Namaste. And we're going to talk today about electromagnetic fields, electrons, protons. Basically, what we're going to be doing is bringing in the scientific part of what Reiki does, considering our biofield, the positive and negative energies, the actual electromagnetic field that we create naturally, and so many more um, parts to this that you need to just understand a little bit. When energy goes out to an area or a person, think about you guys playing, two of you throwing a baseball to each other and playing catch, right? Because that's or any ball, okay? You're just playing ball, and one is catching, one is then throwing, and you both go end up in that particular exercise. You're both throwing to each other and catching the ball, but at the same time, you separate from each other so that it's a longer throw, right? So you have someone that's pushing and someone that's catching and then pushing again, and the other one is catching. As you are separating, there is a thing called a virtual photon. Virtual photons appear and disappear very, very quickly, too quickly to be discernible to your naked eye, right? But we know that it's there. There's been research. It's there. It's part of quantum physics and it's part of physics, period. What happens is when you are separating from the, you guys playing ball and throwing it at each other, and you separate and give yourselves more space so the ball can go longer, right? What is happening is the ball is going longer. It is traveling longer from you and the other person. If you start moving in and throwing the ball right there, right in front of each other, the ball is going to go faster. Okay? What we got to understand is that is part of nature and the actual quantum scale. For us, it's a phenomenon, right? It continues to be a phenomenon. Is it a phenomenon? No. It's a phenomenon to us because we are just hitting the surface of the quantum wisdom. But between certain particles, let's say electrons, now I want you to take you and the person you were throwing that ball to, and I want you to get that, and I want you to change your names. You're both electrons, right? You are both electrons. So we're changing your names, okay? You're both electrons. And this ball you're throwing to each other, that is a virtual photon. So what happens when both electrons separate from each other? The photon has more space to get to the next electron and back. So that electron takes longer to get from point A to point B. But if both electrons are really, really close, this virtual photon is going to go a lot faster than if you guys were two electrons that were so much more separated. Now, these electrons have virtual photons, and what they do is they constantly exchange virtual photons. So there's an exchange constantly going on between the two. A virtual photon is a particle known in quantum physics, and it comes and goes really, really quickly. We're not able to discern it because we are in a meat suit that doesn't readily give us the capacity to see sub-level, sub-cell, sub-atomic with any of those visions. We don't have that. But a virtual photon has a particular energy. And the more energy it has, the shorter its lifespan. Okay? Then you would understand that the less energy a virtual photon has, the longer the energy it can travel. So you have different energetic photons. Well, didn't we just say that if the two electrons are close together and that virtual photon is going fast, 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 that's a faster electron. So if it has more energy that it's doing, that is bringing in, that photon's going to die out, and here comes another one because it's going to get exchanged. But if there are two electrons very separate, a good space separate from each other, that particular virtual photon is going to actually last longer. Now I want you just to visualize, just for a second, visualize your hand on the skin of a person. How much space does that photon, virtual photon, have? It's going very fast. Therefore, it's going to get exchanged and exchanged and exchanged. However, the more we separate our hands from the person's skin, the longer that photon is going to last. There will be no exchange. Just keep that in your mind for now. Electrons experience repulsion, and it's a force, right? It's a force that pushes them away from each other. How wonderful is that, right? Because if you think about it, you're talking about that beautiful phenomenon that we are working on, right? This is what we're working with here. Okay? So, like two people throwing that ball, that you guys are throwing that ball to each other, the force is increasingly powerful as the distance between each electron shortens up, but then it becomes really softer as it separates. So when we have our hands on someone's skin to give them energy healing, can it produce a little stronger energy than you anticipated? Yes. How about here? Well, then maybe it'll soften up here. Now we're talking more of a gentle energy healing. Even though Reiki knows what to do and where to go, we are still the electron in the middle, okay? Directing and making that virtual photon move between us and your client, and thus creating an electromagnetic field that we're creating about for ourselves, and the one that your client is creating themselves as well. Put that in the back of your head, because photons have less distance to travel, and they do contain more energy when they do that. So you want to make sure that you understand that the closer your hand is to a person's body or head, the stronger the energy is going to be. But there is a constant virtual photon that's going to be renewed constantly. All right. Electrons have an electric charge of -1 E meaning electric charge. A negative electron particle plus a positive proton particle attract each other. So remember that you have an electromagnetic field. Your client has an electromagnetic field. So this is energy that you're going to be working through Reiki to help you move that energy around. And now here comes the biofield. Oh my God, a biofield. Okay, this is a phenomenon. It is an electromagnetic field, and it surrounds and permeates every living being. So every living thing has a biofield. But what's so cool about the biofield? Well, it extends 15 feet or more from your body. And according to researcher Ann Baldwin from the University of Arizona College of Medicine, this is pretty significant because everybody or every living being is going to have a 15-foot circumference of energy. Think of it as a dome. And that dome does not stop on the bottom of the feet. That goes 15 feet under as well. The heart produces an electric field, and it's measurable. They can see it with an EKG, an ECG, all these things that they use in the medical field to check on that. And what does that do? The electric field is the one that regulates the heartbeats. All right, here we go. How does it know to regulate the heartbeat? The brain produces an electric field as well. But even though it's an electric field, it is still an electric field, but it's at a much lower level than that of the heart. In fact, all the cells in your body, because they are a living cell, produces a positive or negative electric charge, which then produces the electromagnetic field. That's 15 feet all around you. This way, and under. All right. Now this explains how we have two electromagnetic fields happening with one-to-one Reiki session, that of the client and that of yours. So you are not only working with your own biofield, you're also working with that client's biofield, those electromagnetic fields that are happening all at once. So when you're working with Reiki, yes, you need to be very careful. Research so far has identified that the biofield is the energetic force that guides bodily function. We talked about that. And that Reiki energy influences that biofield. And rightly so. What is Reiki? The universal life force. Correct. The biofield then is thought to cause dynamic changes in the vibrational qualities and alters the physical and psychological functions of all living beings. And that's rightly so. That's spot on. Because if you call it what you want to, it is still an electromagnetic field, and it's still the biofield, and it is still something that, again, we think of it as a phenomenon because we are still living and breathing. It makes sense, right? It makes sense. So Reiki is a form of energy healing. Yes. Does it work? Yes. Do we know exactly how it works? People are going to say, no, we don't. Yes, it does. Yes, we do. It is science and spirituality working together. All right. Quantum physics is the study of how these really, really small particles that make up matter, uh, electrons, neutrons, protons, photons, how they behave and what they do, right? And how and what they do, right, with the energy, but also physical matter. So quantum physicists have been researching this, and they found these tiny little particles of energy can be in more than one place at one time, right? So Reiki practitioners may be able to gather and direct your biofield energy to you or to a client through even thoughts and intention, because it's quantum physics. There is no time and space, and there is no need for matter at that point. Okay. What is happening is you would be able to harness the effects of Reiki, use it, and move around energy, disruptions of energies and frequencies that you are going to feel with your hands, okay, and your intuition. And what's going to happen is you're going to feel that electromagnetic energy as a vibration, okay? When you trigger a cellular response, for example, if you get a hormone molecule or even a neurotransmitter or just one tiny little photon of electromagnetic energy, you hear me talking about how intelligent the photons around us are. Well, it can trigger a cellular response. Then of course, here we come with Reiki frequencies that we're using, and it's directly related to our electromagnetic human field, our biofield. And of course, when we channel that process, when we channel those frequencies, it's coming from us, in us, from us, and we make it this beautiful chi or key energy or vital energy. Here is where we bring energy medicine and biofield therapies into play, because biofield therapies basically include and are not limited to Reiki, therapeutic touch, and Qigong. In fact, energetic healing and the research that has been done has provides the fact that very tiny fields can produce the best effects. So if we know this, if we use this, if we understand that the body can emit light, sound, heat, electromagnetic fields, and all that beautiful stuff, right? Then we know that our bodies themselves have a gravitational field. Yes. So energy medicine practically surrounds itself, understanding how the actual body creates and responds to these electric and magnetic and electromagnetic fields. It's a reaction. What we're doing is we are reacting to the science around us. And that includes light, it includes sound, it includes heat, it includes pressure, it includes the chemical changes, oh my God, gravity, geez, so many effects, right? Now, we can detect electromagnetic fields for all bodily functions. The heart, like we spoke, generates a signal that can be recorded by EKG, right? Brain function can be monitored with an EEG, right? So, what is it? It is the universal life force energy, because there is at this moment no other, no other viable explanation. Now, there's a lot of different, there's some different um, therapies that deal with magnetic fields that actually is produced and dispersed from a healer's hand, or a healing therapist hand. And it actually creates a reaction with a client's magnetic body. That we know of, there's polarity therapy, therapeutic touch, Reiki, any hands-on, which isn't really hands-on because you want to leave space between the body and the hand so that it can produce a gentle healing modality, right? Now, there's this one guy called John Zimmerman. I love looking for things that he's I think he was I don't know. I don't know who John Zimmerman is, but I'm always reading. Yeah, he's from the University of Colorado School of Medicine in Denver. That's who he is. That's who he is. So what did he do? Well, um, he started a whole bunch of studies on therapeutic touch. And what he discovered is that a huge pulsating biomagnetic field actually emanated from the hands of a therapeutic touch practitioner. Okay, but it wasn't a steady, like you get taught with Reiki, just put your hands here. No, this is a sweeping up and down, because biomagnetism pulsates, right, from the hands. All right, and what happens is that they're very, very similar to the frequency range of some of the brain waves. Okay, and what happens naturally is they sweep back and forth through the full range of therapeutic frequencies, and then what happens, it stimulates healing on any tissue in the body. This was there was a paper that he published in 1990, and of course you're always going to get people that are going to be like, oh, that's poppycock. Yeah, because you can't explain it. Okay, read about him, John Zimmerman. He's got some really, really good good studies that he put together. Let's see here. What else did I want to give you guys, because it's so important for you to understand? Let's think, let's go back to the electromagnetic field. Okay, so we've got the central nervous system, and it's got this huge collection of nerves, and it starts from the brain and all the way down the spine and out into various limbs and the organs, right? This is just, it's a system. So these nerves actually transmit these tiny little electrical impulses, and they go back and forth, right? Talking to each other, moving, doing things, fixing things, right? But it's coming from areas in the brain, which is actually governing a bunch of biochemical functions in the bodies. And with that comes cells, right? So you have these cluster of nerves around the pelvis, for example, which is also the sacral region, where the sacral chakra is at. It's a bundle of nerves, right? Every bundle of nerve, every every chakra where there's a bunch of organs and there's a bundle of nerves, you're going to most probably see that there is an energy center, right? So for us, um, the the sacral region is where we work on kidney functions, fertility, issues with hips and mobility, movement of legs, and all those beautiful things, right? And so forth and so on, right? So those collection of nerves form a cluster, right, for each specific region of the body that we understand as a chakra. And a chakra is an energy center, right? We got 7. You already learned about the 7, right? Those are chakras. Well, guess what? Each electromagnetic field creates a clockwise circular motion of energy in each area. So that means that a chakra, which comes from the Hindu word chakar, which means go around, is the actual motion, circular motion of an electromagnetic field. So what happens when these nerves and their electrical impulses function with a little of dis-ease, or they're not working correctly? Well, the electromagnetic field at that point weakens, and then there's this signal going to your body and your brain and your heart and all the other chakras that let everybody know, hey, sorry, I gotta tuck my foot underneath, that is going to tell the body and everybody and people that are able to see that, spiritualists and chakra um, professionals, that there's an imbalance or there's a block, right, of that chakra. And then that actually opens up a gateway to bring in an illness or disease. That's called a biochemical dysfunction. Where does it come from? An electromagnetic dysfunction. Okay? The electromagnetic dysfunction is actually going to inform the biochemical department. And since these two nerves are part of various places in your brain, they also can affect cognitive function. So what happens? Why is it that Reiki treats both all aspects, body, mind, and soul? Because it is understood that when there is a dysfunction from an underlying electromagnetic dysfunction, the electromagnetic is already telling the biochemical department, hey, there's something going on, and it's in the brain, okay? And you can see it physically, visually, that there is a cognitive problem and the way that it's functioning. This is where shamans understand how dis-ease takes form in the body, and it makes it so hard. This is where we have to work together spiritually and scientifically with doctors so that we can clear as much as possible. But once something takes form, it's a long road. Okay? Now, when we talk about this, we got to understand with these dysfunctions, whether it's the electromagnetic informing the biochemical department, when you see this happening, what does it tell you? It tells you that the biochemical healing, in order for that to happen, the actual electromagnetic department must precede the biochemical department. In other words, the actual functioning of the electrical impulses have to be corrected for any biochemical work to actually take effect. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people don't heal easily. Okay. Let's talk about a blocked, let's take the solar plexus chakra and let's block that, right? Well, that gives you digestive issues, an eating disorder emerges psychologically. Because each energy center has commonly been understood and known and has emerged biologically and psychologically with patterns. Let's take the root chakra. That's related to anxiety disorder. Heart chakra is directly related to depression. Crown chakra, sleep disorders. Now, what blocks these energy centers or prevents them from functioning correctly is trauma related. Yeah. And it's really not the trauma itself, it's really the response or the reaction to the trauma that matters here. Right? Now, we can discharge these negative energies from anyone. We can use a beautiful technique that I want to say Peter Levine, he describes it as somatic experience, right? Dr. Bradley Nelson uses actual magnets, and he encourages people to rub the magnets all over the body while tuning into traumatic events psychologically in order to discharge the negative energy as part of the emotional release process. There's many, many, many ways to explain what Reiki does, how Reiki functions, how the electric magnetic fields works, why it is that I keep harping that we should not be touching people. We should be giving electromagnetic fields space for what some people call it soft tissue healing. No, we don't touch. Therefore, you would be creating a smaller electromagnetic field within your electromagnetic field and smoothing the client's electromagnetic field, filling and removing any parts that are not working that are not complete, that will help with so much more balance and so much more gentle healing. And you yourself will realize, oh, well, hold on a moment. And I know, because this is what I use. This is how I use it. We emit energy, and we can use and channel this universal life force energy around us to another person for healing purposes, or any other living being. We don't need machines. We don't need equipment. None of that. You are the equipment. You are Reiki's real estate. Everything in life is made of vibrating atoms. You are vibrating. We can create an environment of balance and physical health and health in all of our energetic bodies, because everything is energy, including our thoughts, our emotions. How wonderful is that? And we have those frequencies within us. We are a vibrating, living being. And we are vibrating with the universal life force energy. Therefore, everything we've ever learned about quantum physics, about quantum healing, about any type of energetic healing, gives us the understanding that not only do we have an electromagnetic field, but the earth has one. All living things have one. And it's from the largest mass, which is the earth, right? And in our reality right now, to the tiniest subatomic particle. Magnetic fields vibrate everywhere. They vibrate at a particular frequency, and they're all a little different for each organ, thought, actions, intentions, feelings. Oh my God. And once we understand that, we can absolutely work to help people. And the power of intention, oh my God. Don't even get me going. So I hope I didn't bore you. I don't know how long this was. Pretty long. But thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me your time and your effort, for joining in this Reiki level 1. I hope you got some information that is going to help you. If it's not, this is not, there's no test. This is, if this is not your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea. And there's no right or wrong. It is what it is. So thank you very much for joining me. Ahum, namaste. And I hope to see you soon.